I want you to pay attention to this. You may feel as though you already know about this, but it's still relevant. There's a lot of people who don't. So look at this for a second. So it states these particular stats, and I think this is always worth pointing out. We've posted, charts like this before in the past. You guys have seen the one about like XDC compared to like Bitcoin, Ethereum. Whoop-de-doo, right? But this one's stellar. So look at this for a second, because we need to talk about the whole concept of mass adoption. We talk about on and off ramps. Can you have the one that is literally the most significantly least expensive of the bunch? I think the answer is yes, and I think it's stellar all the way, especially for retail, right? The screen shows that stellar sits at 0. Let's count them: 3, 4, 5 zeros and a 1. The golden champion trophy, if you will. Solana sits at 0.305. Cello, some people call it, CeLo or Solo, 0.001. Polygon Matic sitting at roughly 4 cents. Avalanche 26 cents. Base at 1.11. Optimism at 1.16. Now this doesn't mean the cost per one transaction. That'd be ridiculous, right? The point is, what does it actually cost to transfer? For instance, hold on a second, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, sorry about that. What does it cost to actually transfer 1 million in stablecoins? We did find it out, and here's the information about this. And if anything, I'm going to share this with you. So this is crazy. Let's go ahead and play this. There's no sound, but look at this for a second. There's a little example. And you kind of have an idea how that works. I mean, it's kind of to the point, right? You kind of understand how that works. I think it's almost done. So there's that. Let's jump back for a second. And this guy asked, well, what about XRP? I'm sure it's like, right up there with it too. But that is really, really significant. I mean, the way I look at it is we can talk about the TPS numbers all day long, and there's some good examples, but stellar to be 9-day difference. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was ahead of Solana by 0.4 zeros and a number, but no, it's literally 5 zeros. I mean, you want to talk about, lapping the competition. Stellar all the way, right? Pretty cool to share that. Anyway, that's from them. Of course, I have a little bit more. I want to get into this, and of course, that's my highlight. I'll get back to that in a second. This is cool stuff. Look what it says. This is straight from Stellar. It was recent. Blockchain as a means to broaden digital financial inclusion. This one is actually on January 4th, a few days ago, right? But this right here, it says as outlined in the paper. Yes, an actual new white paper, not white paper as far as like, Stellar creating everything from scratch again, not like that. But as outlined in the paper, an estimated 1.4 billion adults worldwide lack basic financial tools, such as simple bank account. People who are currently unbanked face limited access to formal financial services, especially in economies with substantial informal sectors and persistent gender disparities in account ownership. Your takeaway from this should be how many different cryptocurrency projects that you're invested in which you're like, well, we need to see more mass adoption, right? We need more people to understand, what the project offers and how it really is going to benefit people, right? All those things are great. But what if you can have a particular project, or I should say product at this point, with Stellar that has already laid the groundwork through connections all over the world, so that when we have mass adoption, it's because it's already at the front row center foundation core, if you will, of what they got going on. We talk about flip of the switch. This is a great example of the pathway forward of the whole concept of, like we've been talking about for a couple of years, of, Aunt May or, Granny, your great granny and so on, goes down to the bank or whatever the case be. and basically doesn't even know that they're swiping crypto. You know, it's like the debit card is already tied into crypto. Why is that? Because everything was already laid down, that framework, so on and so forth. This goes on to talk about solutions that move towards financial inclusion and the emergence of it and all that. Talks about the cost of cross-border transactions remains a priority for vulnerable populations, and fees for sending and receiving payments across borders remain high. They do. But back to that example with Stellar, night and day difference. At the end of the day, money shouldn't cost so much money to transfer. I know it sounds like a crazy thing to say, but it's very well true. Getting more into this, I want to share this. Here's the actual paper. I could get into all of it. But what I want to highlight for you guys tonight in regards to this, resources.stellar.org, if you're wanting it to have it. It's called Financial Inclusion. It is the new particular white paper. This right here, there's plenty of these about Vibrant, AirTM. We've reported on some of these. But it's this statement right here: blockchain provides more affordable and efficient cross-border payments. Very, very true. The cost of cross-border payments remains high for individuals sending personal remittances and or exporting, I should say, and importing goods for making intercompany payments and settlements. Financial entities using blockchain infrastructure, technology, and so on, built products that facilitate more affordable and efficient cross-border transactions, even for the retail sector, right? When we jump down to this part, it talks about the lack of liquidity is still a challenge in the most expensive payment corridors, or especially the parts of the world that are unbanked and where it could cost a lot more money just to give those people access. Again, come into the whole thing of Stellar. This part that talks about spring 2023 in regards to cross-border payments, Stellar has this example where they had two fintech companies, Finclusive and AnClap, that announced the results of a limited scope pilot focused on even U.S. Columbia remittance corridor utilizing Stellar blockchain app, or what they got going on in that regard. We gave you examples that was it other Latin American countries, LACchain with Quant, but this part in box 3 of easing cross-border payments and liquidity challenges references once again the things that we've been talking about for over a year, and that is how the World Bank consistently references Stellar, like not every single time, but where it counts. It states, for this particular corridor, the average cost of sending remittances via traditional methods is over 5% of the amount sent, according to the World Bank. During this pilot, which was utilizing blockchain tech and stablecoins to send remittances between individuals in the U.S. and Colombia, average cost of remittance was roughly half that figure. The participating companies believe that these costs could be reduced as transaction volumes increase. I have talked about Boss Money, but the two key ones I want to talk about is some videos I did in the past. So for one is AirTM, like it says, facilitating international payments for payroll. It's a solution focused on micro work in emerging markets. Beneficiaries are, of course, paid with Circle's fully reserved digital dollar USDC. They can convert, of course, to local currency, and that's a big, big thing. AirTM wallet is able to receive international payments as well as local payments and add funds. We're going to get to the point about the whole thing of where XLM comes through, because a lot of you guys have pointed out, hey, it's cool to mention this, but I don't see where there's a real benefit of Stellar's XLM, and I'm going to get to that point, because you know what? I do try to put myself in you guys' shoes. I want that answered as well, right? This other point, we covered this before also with ARF. Listen to this. ARF serves as regulated liquidity settlement platform, licensed financial institutions, cross-border payments. 2022, ARF introduced, I did remember posting this in my video, short-term liquidity solution for using USDC for cross-border payments. Within 8 months of its launch, the company has extended over 270 million in loans to financial institution, and that's just ARF. And with what they got going on with Stellar is obviously massive, but this did result in a cumulative on-chain USDC volume of 370 million. And I'll read this last part verbatim as well. I know it's a lot of verbatim. This solution demonstrates how blockchain and stablecoins can address financial inclusion challenges arising from liquidity constraints while making settlements more transparent, traceable, and in real time. And last but not least, back to the whole thing of real-time payment settlements in blockchain and how, generally speaking, payment settlements are not automated and can take more than one business day to settle. But if you have something like a game changer, whether it is Ripple's XRP, for, you know, for instance, cross-border payments, or Stellar, right, from the retail side and so on, you got to keep in mind both of these are, you know, game changers. So what I want to show you guys, or share with you guys, I should say, excuse me, is why this is so significant. You know, the way I look at it is for quite a few reasons. Back to the whole thing of, for instance, ARF. So we have with Stellar these proof of concept, if you will, for, you know, blockchain and stable coins. You're going to understand or have a more of understanding, unless you're the guy that already knows about this stuff, of how the whole thing of XLM comes into the mix, especially when it comes to USDC, because you better believe I get kind of tired of posting some of this stuff, and some people point out, hey, Max, you know, I see where you're coming from, but it's mainly like a focus of USDC. Listen to this for a second. Just hear me out. Back to the subject about ARF. From what I gathered in regards to my own notes and research, our success provides real-world evidence of how blockchain and stablecoins, of course, can address financial inclusion, those challenges by improving transparency, traceability, and of course that was mentioned in the white paper of real-time settlement. This validates Stellar's vision of decentralizing and democratizing financial services. Now, what about having a demonstration of how this all works with XLM? Well, by demonstrating the effectiveness of USDC Circle on Stellar, ARF lays the groundwork, because that's what we've been talking about, the groundwork today, for future adoption of what? Yeah, you better believe it. XLM, Stellar's native token, XLM, the lumens, for cross-border settlements. XLM itself offers even faster and cheaper transactions compared to who? USDC, making it a potentially ideal solution for what, guys? Come on, you know the answer, for high volume payments. So at the end of the day, sorry, I didn't want to cough in the mic. At the end of the day, you've got to keep in mind that when we look into ARF, when we don't look into it all the time, they do stand at the they stand at the forefront for the reasons that we outlined, not just on tonight's show, but even in the past. And let's just give you an idea of the potential future for integration. So for one, ARF's current focus on, of course, USDC, because that's, let's face it, their focus, might be due to regulatory considerations. And of course, investor preferences. Each investor has many different preferences. When we start seeing things open with these ETFs, investors are still going to have preferences, but if anything, ETFs will give more options. I want you guys to understand that there is technical limitations to all this, but the success of USDC and that solution does pave the way, if you will, for the potential future of what, guys? The integration of XLM and particularly the lumens. With growing regulatory clarity, which is right around the corner, in my opinion, and development of Stellar's interoperable features, ARF itself, because that's what we're talking about tonight, could explore offering both Circle, as in USDC, and even XLM options to its users, catering to different needs and preferences. And this is where your boiler mash is stick in a stew moment comes right now. And that is this. With all the talks of the ETFs going on, and Franklin Templeton at the forefront, just like with the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and so on, we have covered the whole thing of the significance of Franklin Templeton and of course Stellar. How do we know that? Remember the old interviews? You see the lady, can't remember her name, but she's the big wig over at Franklin Templeton, and she's literally sitting right next to the lovely Denell Dixon, talking about the future of this wonderful partnership of Franklin Templeton and Stellar. They already have it. That groundwork has already been laid, right? So with that said, all the people that are flooding XLM saying, look at all this stuff going on, Stellar still hasn't done nothing, I wouldn't complain about it, because if anything, have you not hit your goals for Stellar? And if not, consider it a blessing in disguise. That's the way I personally look at it. The time is running out. It's going to be limited in regards to Stellar. I'm not a fortune teller, but that is the way I look at it. And how do I know that? Because I've seen it before. At the end of the day, I can't give you guys a definitive answer on what the prices are going to be because I'm not a fortune teller, but I want everybody to consider the whole thing of these, the significance of ARF and Stellar coming together. The two come to one for Circle and XLM together, the pairings, if you will, the whole thing of what ARF is looking to accomplish from a broader perspective, and of course what Stellar with XLM's looking to do. Combine that with the whole thing of Franklin Templeton. I just honestly think it's a ticking time bomb waiting to explode, and I'm going to stick to my guns about that. Because that's honestly just the way I look at it personally. So that concludes our Stellar coverage of the night.